The Galactic Council chamber fell silent as Ambassador Chen stepped forward, her boots echoing against the crystalline floor. Above her, representatives from 47 species watched from their elevated platforms, their various appendages twitching with barely concealed hostility. High Arbiter Velkoth, a towering figure with 6 eyes arranged in a perfect hexagon, spoke first. His translator rendered his chittering into perfect standard. Ambassador Chen of Earth, you stand accused of 17 violations of the Concordat of Civilized Warfare. How does humanity answer these charges? Chen clasped her hands behind her back, meeting the Arbiter's central eyes without flinching. We contest the validity of these charges, High Arbiter. A wave of shocked murmurs rippled through the chamber. The Cathari representative, resembling a floating jellyfish of bioluminescent fury, pulsed an angry crimson. Contest? Your species employed camouflage during the Battle of Kepler 442. You hid your warriors like prey beasts. You used deception, hissed the Zexthar ambassador, their crystalline form refracting the chamber's light into accusatory rainbows. You sent false communications, misdirecting our fleet formations. And worst of all, Velkoth continued, his voice heavy with disgust, you attacked at night. While honorable species rested, you struck like parasites in darkness. Chen let the accusations hang in the air for a moment, her expression unreadable. Then she smiled, a gesture that sent shivers through several nearby delegates who had learned to fear that particular human expression. High Arbiter, honored delegates, she began, her voice calm and measured. You speak of the Concordat of Civilized Warfare as if it were universal law. But I must ask, whose rules are these? Velkoth's mandibles clacked in irritation. These are the rules of civilization, human. They have governed warfare among spacefaring species for 10,000 cycles. 10,000 cycles, Chen repeated, nodding slowly. And in those 10,000 cycles, how many species wrote these rules? The founding members of the Galactic Council. 47 species, Chen interrupted. 47 species, all of whom evolved in similar gravity wells with similar day-night cycles with similar concepts of honor derived from similar evolutionary pressures. She paused. Tell me, High Arbiter, how many of those species evolved as persistence hunters? How many spent 100,000 years surviving not through strength or natural weapons but through endurance, cunning, and adaptation? The Arbiter's smaller eyes blinked in confusion. What relevance? Every relevance, Chen said sharply. You created rules that favor your biology, your psychology, your evolution. You fight during daylight because your species developed complex color vision for diurnal hunting. You disdain camouflage because your predators announce themselves with threat displays. You consider deception dishonorable because your species evolved complex pheromone communication that made lying biologically difficult. She stepped forward, her voice rising. But humans? We evolved in a world where we were both predator and prey. We learned to track prey across continents, to follow them for days until they collapsed from exhaustion. We learned to set traps, to use terrain, to coordinate in groups with nothing but gestures and grunts. We learned that survival, the continuation of our people, mattered more than glory. The Cathari ambassador pulsed an uncertain purple. You speak of primitive behaviors. I speak of effective behaviors, Chen corrected. When the Devourers came to Earth, you expected us to meet them in honorable daylight battle. You expected us to announce our positions, to fight according to your rules. Her smile turned sharp. We didn't. We hit their supply lines. We used their own communications against them. We attacked when they were most vulnerable, regardless of time of day. And we won. You violated. We survived. Chen's voice cracked like a whip across the chamber. And in surviving, we saved not just ourselves, but the 17 council worlds that the Devourers had already marked for consumption. Worlds that would have fallen while their defenders waited for honorable daylight battles. Silence descended once more. Several delegates shifted uncomfortably. Velkoth leaned forward, his voice softer now. You cannot simply discard millennia of tradition. We're not discarding anything, Chen said. We're asking you to recognize that your traditions are not universal law. They are preferences shaped by your biology and history. Effective preferences for you, perhaps. But humanity comes from a different path. She pulled out a data tablet, its screen glowing softly. After the Battle of Kepler 442, the Devourer advance halted. After the dishonorable campaign at the Scorpii cluster, we liberated 6 worlds. After the cowardly ambush at the neutral zone, we ended a war that had consumed 3 species. She looked up. How many lives were saved by our violations? The Cathari's bioluminescence dimmed to a thoughtful blue-green. Millions, they admitted quietly. Billions, corrected the Zexthar representative, their crystalline form refracting something that might have been shame. Chen set down the tablet. Humanity has one rule of war, honored delegates. One rule that supersedes all others: protect your people. Everything else, honor, glory, tradition, these are luxuries we afford when survival is certain. But when our backs are to the wall, when extinction looms, we fight with every tool evolution gave us. She looked around the chamber, meeting as many eyes as she could. You asked why we don't follow your rules of war. The answer is simple: because they're your rules, not ours. You evolved to value honor in combat. We evolved to value victory at any cost. You fight to prove dominance. We fight to survive. And if we insist you comply with the Concordat? Velkoth asked, though his voice had lost its earlier certainty. Chen's smile returned colder now. Then you'll fight the next war without us. And when the Devourers return, and they will return, you can face them with your honor intact and your worlds in flames. She paused. Or you can accept that humanity brings a different kind of strength to this council. Not better, not worse, just different. Born from a different world, forged in a different fire. The chamber remained silent for a long moment. Finally, Velkoth raised one clawed appendage. The council will reconsider these charges. Perhaps the Concordat requires amendment. Different species, different methods. Different methods, different strengths. Chen nodded respectfully. That's all we ask, High Arbiter. Understanding, not conformity. As she turned to leave, the Cathari ambassador pulsed a curious yellow. Ambassador Chen? One question. If humanity values survival above all else, what happens when you no longer face extinction? What happens when you are safe? Chen paused at the chamber's entrance, looking back over her shoulder.
Then, honored delegate, we extend that protection to our allies.
Because survival isn't just about humanity anymore. It's about all of us. Her eyes hardened. But we'll still fight our way by our rules in our darkness. Because that's what makes us human. That's what kept us alive long enough to reach the stars. She walked out, leaving 47 species to contemplate the fact that the galaxy's rules had been written by those who won easily, not by those who survived desperately, and humanity, born from desperation, had no intention of forgetting the lessons of their savage, beautiful, unforgiving world. The rules of war, they realized, had just been rewritten by a species that refused to die.